All right, so let's get started, and happy to see so many people already joining. So welcome all to this week's PTC Talks, where we are happy by having Philip Hinterdorfer from MATE for a session on geometric similarity, search imperfection. But first, just a very quick introduction by me. So my name is Toby Bidson, and I'm the Alliance Manager for PTC, leading the webinars where we invite customers and partners for some inspiration on digital transformation to see what is possible and how to make things happen. And we are running all those webinars on Fridays, same time, 3 times a month, with topics around either manufacturing, services, or engineering. And the recordings of the sessions are to be found on the registration site. The agenda for today is first a very quick overview of PTC by me. Then Philip will run the show by introducing himself, touch base on a few challenges in the industry, how to address all those, and then explain some of the business outcomes. And we will also run a quick poll with you. And after that, we are having a Q&A session, so please keep your questions to the end, or you may also put them in the chat. We will pick them up later on in the Q&A session. And then we have a short presentation about PTC. So PTC is a global software company with a headquarters in Boston. We provide market-leading solutions on IoT, AR, PLM, CAD, and SLM and ALM through the digital thread. Now with you, Philip.
Thank you. Welcome also from my side. My name is Philip Hinterdorfer. I'm working for MATE in Austria, and there I'm ModelSearch product manager. And ModelSearch is also the product I want to show you today, because ModelSearch is our geometric similarity search solution. But before I show you ModelSearch live in action, let's talk about why we have innovated ModelSearch. So we talked to a lot of our customers, and they all have the same or similar challenges. So everybody nowadays talks about sustainability, and they all want to reuse existing data, existing information. But all of them have the same problem. They do not find that existing information. So let's take a look into the design department. Why do they fail in reusing already existing models? Well, because they find them. They all have automatic generated namings, automatic generated naming scheme. And if you don't know how the model is called, or if you don't know the article number, then you do not find the model. You will also not find it if you know that you have created in the past. And of course, it's getting more difficult if not you have created the model, if your colleague has created the model, and the colleague maybe is located in another office or in another country. So what happens is the models are recreated from scratch, but not only the model, also all the downstreaming processes, like in the engineering department, it's the drawing, the strength calculation, the material selection. But you will face those challenges in all other departments too. So let's take a look into manufacturing department. They may know they have manufactured a similar model in the past, but without the article number, they don't find the existing model. So they do not find the existing manufacturing program, which means it's recreated from scratch. And not only the manufacturing program, they also have to identify on which machine the model can be manufactured, which raw material they need, which tools they need, and so on and so on. So all that downstreaming information that's already available in the company. But if you can't find existing data, if you can't find existing models, then you are also not able to reuse all that stuff. And of course, the same thing happens in other departments. And one last department I want to look into is the purchasing department. So they may know they have already ordered a similar model, but once more, without having the article number, they don't find it. So they have to re-evaluate which manufacturer can create that model. And of course, they also have no information to compare to. So they don't even know if that model now is overpriced. And once more, there are lots of other use cases in other departments. Anyway, as we don't have that much time, let's jump directly forward to the effects. So what happens if you recreate everything from scratch? Well, then probably in the design department, you will have an explosive proliferation of parts and assemblies. But most of the time, the models do not stay in the design department. They will find their way into manufacturing, which means you will produce unnecessarily much similar or even worse identical models. And this, of course, leads to excessively rising costs in all your departments: in development, purchasing, production, warehousing, maintenance, service, shipping. So in each department where you would have the possibility to reuse existing data if you can make it available. So if we take a look into a typical mechanical engineering company, then we probably all know that they have at least several 100,000 models in their database. So several 100,000 models up to multiple millions of parts. And we figured out that they all have approximately 15% unwanted duplicates. So in 2016, VDMA released a study where they put the average cost of a purchased part at $1,800 and the average costs of an in-house manufactured part at $3,400. If we now combine the value or the money with the 15% unwanted duplicates, which we could save, then I think you all can imagine how big the potential would be if we would have the possibility to either reuse existing data or to prevent the creation of duplicate data. So when you try to find existing models, then you have two possibilities that you can use. So the first one is a manual classification. As you can see in the presentation, it's a small model, but there are lots of terms you could use, like sheet metal, lash, mounting bracket, console, and so on. The problem here is if I use one term like mounting bracket and my colleague is searching for a sheet metal model, then he won't find it. And then there is another problem. If he's using the same term, then he probably will find lots of models, but they all vary in shape and dimension. So the only possibility you really would have is an automatically supported system. And that's what I want to show you today with ModelSearch. So let me show you first another picture, a picture of a mounting bracket, because I'm jumping into the role of a designer and I do need that mounting bracket. So as I'm used to Creo Parametric, I directly jump into Creo Parametric and start with the design. So I'll start with the creation of the first feature, maybe a rectangle. I do change some dimensions. I finish the sketch. I finish the creation of the feature, and I directly jump into the creation of the second feature. So I'm once more in the sketcher. I create two center lines. I draw a rectangle. I will mirror it down, and then I will add some dimensions. So doing basic engineer's work, I would call it. So maybe this one. Then I will define the length of the feature. I'll finish the creation of the sketch. Then I define the height of the feature, and I finish the creation of it. And now, each time when you create the feature, the model is regenerated, the so-called footprint is calculated, a similarity search is triggered, and as you can see in the lower right corner, ModelSearch Live appears, showing the engineer similar already existing models from his database. Of course, this doesn't only work with easy or simple parts like the mill part I had on my screen first. It also works with all other types. So in my case now, maybe that's a molded part. I can start the geometric similarity search also manual, and the same process happens. So the footprint gets calculated, similarity search gets triggered, and once more, as you can see in the lower right corner, ModelSearch Live appears, showing the designer similar already existing models from the database. Of course, it also works with sheet metal models, so it doesn't matter how the models look like. But before I show you a geometric similarity search with the sheet metal model, I'd like to show you something else, because it also works with other file formats. So we are not restricted to Creo parametric file formats only. It also works with interchange file formats, like in my case, a step file or an IGES file. And it also works with multi-cut file formats, like Inventor, Solid Edge, SolidWorks, Catia, or NX. Easily said, everything you can open with Creo parametric, you have the possibility to start looking for similar models with ModelSearch. So in my case, of course, it also works with the sheet metal model. As we now know, with ModelSearch, we can very easily identify already existing models. We are probably ready for the next step. So when we have identified similar models, we want to analyze them. So I'm interested how the model looks like. I'm interested if I can directly reuse the model I have found, or if I have found a similar one, I can't directly reuse it, but I can reuse it as a template. So let's imagine there is one drilling that's a bit more to the left than it should. Then I can create the copy. I can also create copies of all the downstreaming processes. So I can reuse the 3D model, the drawing, the strength calculation, the material selection, the manufacturing program, the vendor selection. So everything that was already available in my system. But let's go back. I'm interested how the model looks like. And as ModelSearch is fully integrated into Creo Parametric and Windchill, I can open the model with just one mouse click very easily. In my case, I have identified 7 models which are very similar. And I need to figure out which one works the best for my use case, so that I don't have to jump from one window to the next one. I have the possibility to load them all into one assembly. As you can see at the bottom, there is the model I started the search with, and at the top, there are the 7 results I have found. Sometimes it will happen that you will find 2, 3, or more models which are absolutely the same, so-called duplicates. Then I'm the lazy guy. I would probably reuse the one where the drawing already exists. But where to figure out if the drawing is available? Well, probably in Windchill. Once more, ModelSearch is fully integrated into Creo Parametric and Windchill. That's why we can forward you directly to the model's information page. Once more, with just one mouse click. And probably the best functionality is the model comparison. So we have developed an algorithm that figures out the best position of the models. It will then create an assembly where both models are placed. We also paint the models. One is painted red, the other one is painted transparent green. So this means if you see brown or yellow surfaces or shaded surfaces like in that area, then they exist in both models. But if you can identify only green surfaces or only red surfaces, then they are only available on one of those two parts. Of course, that's only a visual comparison process right now. And maybe you wonder, how should you compare molded parts or inside surfaces? Well, it's a native Creo parametric assembly, and we created with 3 cross sections, one in X, one in Y, one in Z direction. As it is a native Creo parametric assembly, you can change existing cross sections or create your own if you need more. And then at the end, if we check out the model tree, you will see that there are 2 more models which are hidden by default. So those are our, let's call them difference models. How are they created? Well, for the first difference model, we use the geometry of the top model, in my case, the red model, and subtract the geometry of the green model. So in my case, the green model, if you remember, was bigger than the red one, and that's why the first geometric part stays empty. The second one, we create the other way around, which means what you can see right now on my screen is the complete difference between those 2 models. And with that functionality, the designer should have the possibility to make his decision. Is he able to reuse the model he has found, or can he create a copy, so reuse it as a kind of template, make his adaptations, but once more also copy all that downstreaming stuff like drawing, strength calculation, material selection, manufacturing program, and so on, and so on. One last thing I'd like to show you inside Creo Parametric is ModelSearch with assemblies. Maybe the question appeared. So of course, it also works with assemblies. Same functionality, no matter which model is loaded. So let me show you something else, because ModelSearch, as I mentioned earlier, is fully integrated into Creo Parametric and Windchill. So this means that ModelSearch is not restricted to the design department only. All other departments who have access to Windchill can work with ModelSearch, like once more, manufacturing department, purchasing, shipping, sales, whoever can benefit from already existing information. So let me jump to a model and maybe use a SolidWorks model, and maybe I need to manufacture that model right now. And I remember I manufactured a similar one in the past. Without ModelSearch, I'm probably not able to find the similar one. But with ModelSearch, it's very easy. It's once more just on my fingertips. So start the similarity search and forward it to the result dialog where all the models are listed with the decreasing similarity rating. So the model at the top is the model I started the search with, and below are my results. As you can see, in my case, I have quite good results. So I found 3 models with a similarity rating of 96%, another one with round about 95, 94, and so on, and so on. Of course, we also give you access to the thumbnails, so you once more have a visual comparison. And then, of course, you can also open them with Creo View to figure out more information. Once more, it also works in Windchill with assemblies. So navigate to the models information page. And once again, from the actions menu, you can directly start similarity searches, also for assemblies. For assemblies, we have additional information called the assembly analysis. So let's imagine you have worked on that assembly the last 2 weeks and you have used more than 1,000 components. Before you release that assembly, you want to be sure that you haven't recreated data that already exists in your database. But instead of opening all those 1,000 components, you have the possibility to run an assembly analysis. So we will run similarity searches for each component of the assembly, and then we will come up with the result. Don't worry too much. In my situation, I only see the models which have a higher similarity rating than 90%, because those are the only ones where I may have the possibility to reuse existing models. All the other ones which have a similarity rating smaller than 90%, I'm not interested in. How does the model look like, which is similar to the one I have used? Well, that's something we can show you in a separate table below. So in that case, I have identified a model which has a similarity rating of 100%, which means that's a duplicate model. So I do have twice the same geometry in my database. The only thing that differs is the article number. So wouldn't it be nice if you would have the possibility to create a duplicate report out of the box? I guess so. And as you probably already imagine, that's possible with ModelSearch. So the only thing I need to do is jump into the duplicates tab where all the duplicates are listed. In my case, in my installation, I have identified 330 duplicate groups. So they all receive a name from one of the model that's inside the group. And next to the name, we show you the amount of the models. So this means this group contains 5 geometric identical models. The only difference, once more, is the article number. So this group contains 4 geometric identical models. Once more, the only difference is the article number. Most of our customers want to get rid of duplicates, so the easiest way probably would be to delete them. But most of the time, that's not possible as they are used in assemblies, so they would have to replace the model in the assembly, which ends up in too much work. But what all of them can do is they can, in that case of 4 duplicates, change the life cycle from 3 of them to obsolete. So everybody in the company knows, okay, I'm not allowed to reuse this one. If they did so if they resolved that duplicate group, they want to get rid of this one because they still have 329 duplicate groups left. So that's why we've introduced the visibility state. I'm done with that group, so I remove the visibility checkbox, and as you can see, the amount has decreased. There are only 329 left. So this means we have moved the duplicate group from the visible tab into the invisible tab, as well as we have changed the status of the visibility. So maybe you ask yourself, why do we use the traffic light symbol? So there is also a third state available. Well, if somebody, due to any reason, creates a model that's once more geometrically identical than the one from the group, ModelSearch will recognize it, will add the model to the duplicate group, will change the visibility state from invisible to changed, that's the third state, and will once more reallocate the group into the changed duplicate groups tab. So the administrator or whoever is responsible for resolving duplicates gets notified. Of course, we also have the possibility to export all our results to Excel, no matter if it is the duplicate report, the result of similarity searches, assembly analysis, parameter searches. It does not matter at all. So at the end, I want to show you some of our customers. Some of them you may know. So there are bigger ones like KTM, Sport Motorcycle, Liebherr, Milagron, and so on. So thank you very much for your attention. I now would like to open it up for Q&A.
Thanks a lot, Philip, for sharing a lot of great stuff here and doing the demos. So as you said, let's open up for questions, and I can see that we have already a few questions in the chat. So one was from Thomas regarding, will this automated model search find parts that are alike in shape, but are of different scale?
That's also possible. Yeah, so we can decide how we want to start searches. By default, of course, we do search for the same shape and the same size, but we can change it. So we can also find models which are scaled, so twice as big as the initial one or 4 times as big as the initial one. So yeah, that's absolutely possible.
Cool, thanks. And another question here was also from Thomas. How performance hungry is this tool?
That's a very good question. Thank you, Thomas. So the magic, the calculation of the similarity weighting happens on a separate server. This means it has no impact on either the Windchill application server, the database server, or the Creo parametric clients. Everything that's calculated is allocated to a separate server. So no performance impact at all.
Thanks. And I think we had another question here. Does this model search also affect the performance of Windchill or Creo somehow?
Well, I think I've already answered before,
Yeah.
so there is no performance impact at all.
Cool. Let me see another one here. Let me see. Is this model search model supported for installation on Windchill cloud-hosted systems as well, or?
That's something we have to talk about. If you are the owner of the cloud, then yeah, that's possible. That's absolutely no problem. If it's hosted on a PTC environment, then we also have to talk with PTC.
Thanks. Another question here was also, a part may be designed for a specific structure. How is this taking into account?
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. A part may be designed for a specific structure, but how is this taking into account?
I don't get the question with the structure.
Maybe if you have, if you could, open up for and ask the question. I think I can't see, who is it actually asking, but maybe we could have people actually speaking up if possible.
Yeah, if the person can raise her hand,
yeah, can you do that?
Unmute.
Exactly. Right, we have Leonardo from UK. Could you maybe ask the question? Elaborate a bit on it? Yeah, sure.
If your bracket example, you design a bracket for a specific load. specific environment, you apply a force and things like that. You can't just pick up a bracket and reuse it just like that. You need to check for the environment you're designing it for. How do you take that into account?
Thanks.
Well, we only go for a geometric similarity. So if it's geometrically identical, then we will find it and we will show it to the user. So if he needs a bracket that should resist more load, so maybe because he's using another material, then we won't take that into account for geometric similarity search. But we can add so-called external attributes in addition, like the material or like attributes that are stored from the CAD environment into Windchill, attributes which are only available in Windchill, or attributes from third-party applications like ERP systems. So if you're also interested in the cost of the model or the amount, how many models you have on stock.
Right. I think you had a poll also, Philip. Maybe we should launch that.
Yes, that would be great.
Big one. Yeah, could we do that? Maybe you could just answer the poll here quickly. Let's see if we have some results that you could actually elaborate a little bit on. Did you have the findings there somewhere, maybe? You can see them actually in the chat there, so maybe you could, elaborate a little bit on that, Philip, if you want. It's in the chat.
Let me see if I can find or access the chat.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so around about 26% are using Creo Parametric with Windchill. It increases a bit, so now we have 31% with Creo and Windchill, 41% with Creo plus Multicut and Windchill, and then there are around about 25% with other CAD systems and other PDM systems. So for ModelSearch, as MATE is value-added reseller or implementation partner for PTC products, ModelSearch only works with either Windchill or Model Manager. So that's the prerequisite.
Thank you. And I had one last question. It was also from Thomas. He thinks that, the presentation here was impressive. So how does he actually get hold of the tool?
How does he get it?
How does he get it? How could he actually, get the tool? And what are the kind of, pricing model that you're using?
Yeah. Well, we have floating licenses. So if a user starts a similarity search, then the license gets locked for 20 minutes. And after those 20 minutes, the license is free. So the next designer, the next user can work with it. If you need more information related to how we can install it, which systems are supported, or the pricing, it would be nice if you can contact me directly. My email address was on one slide earlier, philip.hinterdorfer@mate.at. I think the recording is also uploaded to PTC's homepage. So if you're interested, you can rewatch it there, and then you will also find my contact details.
Super duper. And I could also see that some of the results, from the last poll here, that 90% were actually, interested in ModelSearch. So that's good results, I think. So, and most people are actually having, some people are also having a plan, I mean, to get started in the next couple of months as well. So that's good results as well.
That's great. I can also send you my contact details directly in the chat. So once more, if you're interested, let's get into touch.
Fantastic, Philip. And unfortunately, timing is running out. So, I mean, thanks you everyone, I mean, for joining this session, and a special thanks, I mean, to you, Philip, I mean, for doing fantastic demos and good presentation over the interesting tool you're having here. So with that, I hope to see you back next week on the 15th of March for a session about digital performance management by Craig Melrose from PTC. So stay tuned for that and have a fantastic weekend. And maybe, I mean, you could stay a little bit more on the chat, Philip, if we have still a few questions, I mean, from the audience. And
yeah, sure.
see if we could answer them as well. So with that, goodbye, everyone. See you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.